The world you see around you holds a secret, one so profound it has shaped every experience you've ever had. Look closely, not just with your eyes but with your heart, and you'll begin to notice something extraordinary. Life, in all its complexity, is more than a series of random events. It's a reflection, a mirror, faithfully casting back the essence of who you are inside. Our story begins with a whisper of realization. Perhaps it's a lingering sense of dissatisfaction, a nagging feeling that life is meant to be more. Or maybe it's the weight of patterns repeating endlessly, struggles with money, relationships, or self-worth. For those willing to pause and truly see, this is the moment the mirror reveals itself, shimmering with the truth. Your reality is shaped by the person you believe yourself to be. A man stands at a crossroads, staring into the glass of his life. He's neither broken nor whole but trapped in a cycle that feels unrelenting. The reflection stares back, mirroring doubts, fears, and questions he has buried for too long. As he reaches out, something stirs within. A fleeting thought, an elusive but undeniable spark. What if the reflection isn't fixed? What if I can change it by changing myself? This realization doesn't arrive with fanfare or certainty, but with a quiet nudge. It's not an answer, it's an invitation. An invitation to explore the possibility that the reflection staring back isn't permanent, that it's been waiting all along for him to reshape the image he projects. As he steps away from the mirror, a new chapter begins. Not in the world outside but within. Because the secret of the mirror of reality is this: it doesn't start with what you see. It starts with who you are. The day began like any other. The routine unfolded with predictable precision. A morning coffee, the hum of obligations, and the quiet, persistent weight of unanswered questions. Yet, there was something different beneath the surface. A sense that the air carried a message, as if the world itself had conspired to offer a sign. It came not in a grand revelation, but in the smallest of ways. A book left open on a park bench, its pages whispering truths to anyone curious enough to stop. A conversation overheard between strangers, words laced with an uncanny resonance. Or perhaps it was a chance encounter with someone whose presence felt oddly significant, like they were meant to cross paths. Whatever the source, the message was undeniable. Reality is a mirror. At first, the idea seemed abstract, even absurd. The reflection of life as an extension of one's inner world? How could that be? After all, the struggles, the setbacks, they had always felt external, like an unyielding tide beyond control. But the thought refused to fade, instead growing louder with each passing moment. There was a memory, a stark reminder of all the times reality had seemed to reinforce the same fears, the same doubts. Each failed opportunity, each strained relationship, each step forward that somehow felt like a step back. It was as if the world had been echoing back a hidden part of the self, revealing patterns that had always been there but never truly seen. And now, standing in this moment, the truth began to take form. The mirror doesn't lie, but it can be changed. With this realization came both exhilaration and resistance. The thought of facing one's own reflection, one's own beliefs, fears, and limitations was daunting. Could it really be possible to reshape the reflection by reshaping what was inside? The principle of the mirror wasn't a command or a demand. It was an offer to see the world differently by daring to see oneself differently first. This was the moment it all began. Not with answers, but with a question. Am I ready to face the truth of my reflection? There's a moment when the haze begins to lift, when the noise of daily life quiets just enough for clarity to seep in. This moment isn't always comfortable. It's often marked by a sharp awareness of what is. In this state, everything becomes unavoidably visible. The struggles that once seemed distant now stand unflinchingly close. Bills piled on a cluttered desk. Relationships strained by words left unsaid. A career that feels more like a cage than a path to purpose. The reflection isn't subtle. It's stark, raw, and undeniable. Everywhere you look, the patterns of the past echo loudly. That recurring sense of not enough time, not enough money, not enough worth. It's a weight that doesn't just linger. It multiplies with each passing day. But the mirror of reality doesn't just reflect the surface. It digs deeper, pulling at the threads of belief that weave this world together. What do you believe about yourself? About the world? The answers aren't whispered gently. They're shouted back through every setback and every limitation you've ever known. It's a jarring realization. The external chaos is merely the result of internal turbulence. The doubts, fears, and insecurities have always been there, shaping the lens through which life is experienced. Reality has never been the problem. It's only ever been the mirror. And yet, there's power in this confrontation. Because if the reflection is shaped by belief, then belief can be reshaped. Standing at the edge of this awareness, there's a choice to be made. Will you turn away from the reflection, pretending it doesn't exist? Or will you step closer, lean in, and face the truth head-on? This is where the journey begins, not in changing the world outside, but in transforming the world within. The decision is made. Something must shift. The weight of standing still feels heavier than the uncertainty of moving forward. With cautious determination, the first steps are taken. It begins simply, perhaps with a journal and a pen, or a quiet moment carved out of a busy day. A list forms, desires, goals, dreams that had once felt out of reach. These aren't just things to want. They are a blueprint for the person waiting to emerge. But change is rarely smooth. The first attempt feels awkward, like speaking a language never learned. Positive affirmations are written and repeated, yet they feel hollow, their weight failing to sink in. Visualization exercises start strong but quickly dissolve into doubts. Can this really work? The old voice of skepticism creeps in, questioning every effort, every intention. Life, too, seems resistant. Obstacles appear out of nowhere. Unexpected bills, conflicts, or moments that seem to mock the attempt at transformation. The reflection in the mirror doesn't shift. It feels as though it has only grown sharper, throwing every flaw, every failure, into stark relief. And yet, amidst the frustration, something subtle begins to stir. A single moment, fleeting but real, where the new effort feels genuine. It might be the spark of a better idea during a conversation, a small but welcome change in how someone else responds, or even just the faintest flicker of confidence. It's not the grand transformation hoped for, but it's enough to suggest that the mirror might, in fact, be listening. The image hasn't shifted yet, but there's a sense that the projection is beginning to change. The journey forward remains unclear, but this first attempt, imperfect, frustrating, and messy, is a step into the unknown. And with it comes the first taste of possibility. The effort to change, even in its earliest stages, has a way of pulling back the layers. It starts with questions, some deliberate, others unbidden. They rise in quiet moments, demanding answers that can no longer be avoided. Who am I, really? This question doesn't land gently. It crashes in like a wave, sweeping away surface-level assumptions. The roles played in life, parent, friend, worker, dreamer, feel incomplete. There's something deeper underneath, something less defined yet far more powerful. And as the days unfold, another question follows closely behind. How do I see the world? These questions reveal a truth often overlooked. For so long, identity has been tied to limitations, to the labels handed down by family, society, and circumstance. Not good with money, too shy to lead, always unlucky. Beliefs clung to so tightly they've become invisible, woven into the very fabric of existence. And then there's the worldview, a lens through which everything has been interpreted, quietly shaping every thought, decision, and outcome. For some, the lens whispers scarcity. There's never enough money, time, opportunity. For others, it murmurs doubt. The world is indifferent, hostile, unyielding. But here's the revelation. These are not truths. They are choices. Choices made so long ago they felt like destiny. Yet, standing on this precipice, it becomes clear that identity and worldview are as malleable as clay, waiting to be reshaped. The reflection in the mirror has always been a servant to these beliefs, faithfully casting back what it was given. But now, there's an understanding that this can change. The person staring back doesn't have to be limited by the past. The world reflected doesn't have to be bound by old fears. With this revelation comes the seed of something new. A glimpse of the person waiting to be forged and a world waiting to open its arms. The mirror is still waiting, and the first spark of transformation has begun. The decision to shift identity and worldview begins with action, small, deliberate steps taken daily. It's not a grand overhaul, but a quiet, persistent practice. Affirmations become the first tool. Words carefully chosen, repeated with intention, even when they feel hollow at first. They're not about pretending the world has already changed, but about planting seeds for what's possible. I am worthy. I am capable of abundance. My life unfolds with purpose and grace. These phrases become a rhythm, spoken in the stillness of the morning or whispered at night. At first, they feel foreign, like wearing shoes that don't quite fit. But slowly, they begin to sink deeper, creating a faint echo in the mind that wasn't there before. Then comes gratitude. It's not an easy practice, especially when the reflection in the mirror still feels stubbornly unchanged. The temptation to focus on what's missing, what's wrong, looms large. Yet, the shift begins with a single thought. What do I have today that is good? A roof overhead, a meal on the table, a moment of laughter shared with a friend. Small things, often overlooked, now become anchors. Writing them down, listing them out, gives these moments weight and significance. Gratitude isn't about ignoring challenges. It's about recognizing that even in the midst of difficulty, there's something worth holding on to. As the days stretch into weeks, something begins to stir. The affirmations no longer feel like empty words. They carry a quiet conviction. Gratitude stops being a task and becomes a lens through which the world is seen. And the mirror, though still reflecting much of the same, seems to flicker with faint new images. A sense of possibility creeps in. Small changes that suggest the seeds planted are beginning to take root. The practice is far from perfect, but it's a beginning. And with each passing day, the effort becomes a habit, and the habit becomes a way of being. Progress often comes with resistance. Just when it feels like the first glimmers of change are taking hold, life has a way of testing resolve. The past doesn't release its grip so easily. Old patterns resurface, weaving themselves back into the rhythm of daily life. There's a familiar weight in the chest, a creeping doubt that whispers, nothing has really changed. A setback at work, a strained conversation, an unexpected expense. These moments feel like proof that the effort to shift reality is futile. The cycle begins to show itself. A wave of optimism swells, fueled by new practices. But when results don't appear as quickly as hoped, discouragement follows. There's a downward pull, subtle at first but soon overwhelming, dragging everything back to the way it was before. And yet, there's something different this time. The mirror of reality, though reflecting much of the same struggles, carries a faint shimmer of something new. It's enough to spark awareness of how this cycle has repeated before. The realization is unsettling but powerful. This isn't life working against me. This is the mirror responding to my past projections. The frustration, the doubt, the fear, they're not obstacles placed by the world. They're echoes of old beliefs that haven't fully been released. But the question remains, how do you break free from a cycle that feels so unrelenting? The pull to retreat into old ways is strong. The voice of defeat is louder than ever. And yet, somewhere in the depths of this struggle, a choice appears. The choice is simple but far from easy. Will you let the cycle pull you back? Or will you stand firm in the new identity you are creating? This is the turning point, not in the world outside, but in the decision to hold on to belief, even when the mirror seems to insist otherwise. To trust that the cycle can be broken, not by force, but by persistence. And so, the journey continues. The cycle may not yet be broken, but cracks are forming. And with each step forward, the grip of the past begins to weaken. There comes a moment when the weight of the cycle becomes unbearable, not because it's heavier than before, but because something inside has shifted. The pull of old patterns, the echoes of doubt, no longer feel inevitable. Instead, they feel like a challenge, one that demands an answer. It's in this space, raw and unguarded, that the choice presents itself. The choice to either return to the familiar comfort of what has always been or to step forward into the unknown, guided only by belief in what could be. This isn't a loud, dramatic moment. It doesn't come with lightning strikes or applause. It's quiet, almost fragile, but it holds immense power. The decision to act consciously, to choose intentionally, becomes the turning point. The first step is releasing the need for immediate results. The mirror of reality, with its delayed reflection, no longer dictates the effort. Instead, effort is made for its own sake, driven by the understanding that change begins inside, regardless of when the reflection shifts. The second step is a commitment to consistency. Affirmations are spoken not because they've worked yet, but because they align with the new identity being built. Gratitude is practiced not as a strategy but as a statement of trust in the process. And finally, there's forgiveness, not just for others but for oneself. For all the times the cycle has been repeated, for the doubts that linger, for the moments of weakness. Forgiveness becomes the release valve, allowing space for the new to take root. This conscious choice marks a shift in perspective. Life is no longer seen as something happening to you, but as something happening through you. The mirror of reality isn't an enemy. It's an ally, reflecting back the effort, the patience, and the belief being poured into this transformation. With this decision, the journey feels lighter. The cycle isn't entirely broken, but its grip has loosened. The reflection begins to shift, subtly but unmistakably, hinting that the mirror has started to respond. At first, the changes are so small they're almost missed. A conversation that flows more easily. A decision made with newfound confidence. A fleeting moment of calm where once there was chaos. These subtle shifts feel like whispers, but they carry a profound message. The mirror is beginning to reflect something new. Days stretch into weeks, and the practice continues, not perfectly but persistently. Affirmations spoken with conviction, gratitude extended for even the smallest of blessings, and choices made from a place of alignment rather than fear. These actions, though simple, start to build momentum. The first visible signs appear unexpectedly. Opportunities begin to arise, not grandiose, but meaningful, like a door opening slightly where it was once tightly shut. Relationships soften as old conflicts seem to dissolve on their own. Even challenges, when they come, feel less overwhelming, as though the weight of the world is no longer pressing down so hard. And then, there's a moment of realization. A situation arises that once would have triggered anger, frustration, or doubt. But this time it's met with calm and clarity. The reaction isn't forced. It's natural, as if the new identity has started to take root. These transformations aren't just external. Internally, the shift feels deeper. The once dominant voice of fear and scarcity is quieter now, replaced by a sense of possibility. The belief in abundance, worthiness, and alignment isn't just an idea. It's becoming a lived experience. The mirror reflects this change. Where once it cast back limitations and doubts, it now shows glimpses of strength, resilience, and growth. The reflection isn't yet complete, but it's undeniable. The transformation is real. And in this realization, there's a sense of awe, not at the world itself, but at the power of the choice made to believe, to act, to persist. The journey is far from over, but the progress is visible, tangible, and inspiring. The journey has reached a point where the mirror no longer feels like an adversary. It has become something else entirely, a guide, a tool, a partner in the process of creation. The reflection no longer holds the power to define. Instead, it serves as a canvas, reflecting back the intentions and beliefs projected onto it. There's a sense of mastery now, not over the world but over oneself. The patterns that once felt unbreakable are no longer chains. They are threads that can be rewoven, reshaped into something purposeful and aligned with the vision of the life being created. Challenges still arise. They always will, but they're no longer met with despair or avoidance. Instead, they are viewed as reflections of lessons still unfolding, opportunities to refine the identity and worldview being cultivated. When fear surfaces, it's met with curiosity instead of resistance. When doubts creep in, they're seen as part of the process, not the end of it. The mirror reveals something profound. Life doesn't happen to you. It responds to you. It is a dance, a give and take, where every thought, belief, and action shapes the rhythm. With this understanding comes freedom. The freedom to choose not just what you want, but who you want to become. The person who began this journey is still here, but they've evolved. They've embraced the power of small, deliberate actions. They've learned to trust in the process, to find gratitude even in moments of struggle. And most importantly, they've discovered that the reflection in the mirror is never static. Now, the mirror is no longer a source of fear or frustration. It is a reminder of the boundless potential that lies within. It whispers a truth that has been there all along. You are the creator of your reality. And as the final chapter closes, the journey doesn't end. It begins again, each day offering a chance to refine the reflection, to grow, and to step more fully into the life waiting to be created.